you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave. Oh yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now. Got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the fall!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Thursday, October 31st. Happy Halloween, everyone. The Montreal Canadiens in the last several weeks have given up 6 goals in Montreal versus Pittsburgh, 7 goals in Montreal versus the Rangers, 8 goals a couple of nights ago in Montreal versus Seattle, and 6 goals tonight in Washington versus the Capitals. Of course, all 4 of those games were losses. The Montreal Canadiens finish off the month of October having lost 6 of their last 8 games. No, don't panic, Tony. Tony, you panic. You're negative. You're this, you're that. You're this, you're that. You're picking on the coach. You're picking on the system. You're picking on everything. Say whatever you want. So don't tell me it's a rebuild, by the way, because with the rebuild, you're supposed to get better every year. Right now, who's better? Who's getting better? Who's improved? Who? How many? 3/4 of the class fails when they take the exam. You're telling me not to get upset, not to get frustrated, not to panic? It's not a panic. It's reality. They study during the week. Game night is exam night. They take the exam, and 3/4 of them fail. And so we have to ask ourselves, are 3/4 of them very bad students? And maybe they're not ready for university? Maybe. Or maybe they're just having a hard time with the teacher's message and his teaching methods. Maybe. Maybe that teacher maybe needs another teacher next to him. I don't know. We're going to discuss it. But tonight is Halloween. And the way they've played over the last couple of weeks, you would have thought it was April 1st. Is this a joke? Without further ado, let's bring in from the podcast Processus en français with Matias Brun. He's also a collaborator on my radio show on French radio, BPM Sport, every Wednesday morning in the segment we call Habs Radio. Joins me Wednesdays at 10:55. I'm not going to speak to him for another week, so I said, you know what? Let me get him on the podcast tonight. He hasn't been on in a long, long time. They call him the snake. I call him Serpent. Simon Boisvert, what's going on?
Hi, Tony.
Yeah.
I can see that you're still panicking like you were yesterday morning on French radio.
Yeah. You know what? Actually, I just thought about something, okay? So excuse me 1 second. It's going to be very, very quick, okay? Very quick. You know, if I'm going to get a shirt made for you, I might as well wear it when you're on. Here you are. You are un serpente, un serpente. All right, okay. So, you know, it's funny because I was reading some messages earlier this evening, and people are actually starting to call you the voice of reason because you're being patient with the rebuild, and they're saying that I'm being impatient. Folks, I said this before. I'm going to say it again. It's not that I'm impatient with the rebuild. I wanted the rebuild. I endorsed the rebuild, but I don't want the Canadiens rebuild to be the Buffalo Sabres rebuild where they suck for 12 years. I'm not the one who said the Canadiens had to be in the mix this year. Molson said it. Gorton said it. Hughes said it. St. Louis said it. And the way they're playing, mix of what? What another defensive disaster. You know that there were no goals scored in the first period and the game finished by a score of 6-3. There were no goals. If I had money on the under tonight, I'm saying, you know what? Amazing. But everyone should put money on the over. If people would have put money on the over when the Canadiens played since the beginning of the season, they would have been able to have a nice down payment on a house by now. What are you laughing for? Well, what's funny tonight? The Canadiens let go of Charlie Lindgren back in 2021. 3.5 years later, they don't have a goalie like Charlie Lindgren. No, but is this a joke or what? You understand what I said?
Last year, Tony, you were really, really mad at me when I was telling you that Kaden Primo was not an NHL caliber goalie.
Well, even a broken clock is right twice a day. I'm starting to think you may have been right.
Okay. Well, I don't think he's to blame for every goal tonight, honestly. I think the defense played, quite softly.
I don't think Montembeault and Primo are as bad as their stats.
No.
They're as responsible as many people think they are when the Canadiens give up 6 and 7 and 8. I mean, take a look at the shots. Take a look at the scoring chances. It just seems like Washington could have had 10 tonight. I mean, this has become a recurring theme. Like they can't keep a good defensive system and a good defensive discipline an entire game. They just fall apart.
No, but look, Washington has big forwards, some of them quite skilled. And really, I mean, they keep pressing on the Canadiens' D. And the defensemen, I don't think they're very, very, they're not really battling hard. They're just letting the forwards do whatever they want in their zone.
Well, you saw Caden Gooley, actually, on that note, lose a battle to Brandon Duhaime, where Duhaime separated himself from Gooley. But if you take a look at that particular play as well, Gooley and Matheson are on the same side. I mean, they're just, and there's no one on the other side. But you know what? Yes, he lost the battle. Another goal is a pass that deflects off of Strubal's stick and into the goal.
Yeah.
Another goal is that Christian Dvorak gets beat to a puck behind the net or gets stripped of the puck and it goes out in front and there's no one in front. Another goal is a deflection, by Tom Wilson off a pass by Ovechkin, and Mike Matheson gave him a little bit too much space. I thought Matheson had a bad game tonight, to tell you the truth. Yeah. And it was bad all around.
He's playing too much. Mike Matheson has not been a number one defenseman in his career. There were times where he was a number 4.
Well, he was last year.
Yeah, last year, but on a weak team. And that's the idea with these guys. Every time a person goes up in the hierarchy of a team, there's a good chance that he'll reach Peter's principle. And this is what happened on bad teams. I mean, you look at, I always take the Sharks as an example because they're the optimal bad team in the league, for the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Granlund is their best player. Is Michael Granlund close to being the best player on any other team?
No chance.
Okay, so my comparison is that I think with the Habs, there are too many players who play more than they should. They're not in the right chair, they're not in the right slot. And so it makes them look bad.
Yeah.
You put Madison as a number 4. Let's say he was the Habs' 4th best defenseman. He played a little bit less. We'd all be saying, oh, Madison, pretty good number 4 guy. But Madison is always playing and playing and playing. One thing I don't understand, honestly, about the power play is that he always makes the same play. And why don't they put Lane Hutson as the main guy now on the power play? Like the first unit.
Oh, tonight it was, look, Lane Hutson was also on the ice for some goals against.
Yes.
But he was also on the ice for some goals for. And he also had a couple of assists. And he also provoked a penalty. Mm-hmm. And yet, the discrepancy in the ice time. Let's bring up the the time on ice for the players and all their individual stats if we can. Take a look at this. Mike Matheson played like 14 or 15 seconds shy of 28 minutes tonight. Okay. Of that 28, he played a little bit shy of 7 minutes on the power play.
Yeah.
Lane Hutson played 3:16 on the power play.
It should be the other way around.
He played well. Look, some people will tell you that the Canadiens had a power play of upwards of 24% tonight. So, Mike Matheson actually was doing pretty good. But tonight, Matheson didn't have it. He didn't have it tonight, Matheson. He didn't have it. Lane Hutson had 2 assists. Lane Hutson was the best Montreal Canadiens player tonight. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. That's the way I saw it.
No, you're right.
The best player tonight.
You're right. Yeah.
How does your best player have 10 minutes less than the defenseman who has the most minutes and less than half the power play time?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Look, I'm not against the idea of not overusing Hudson. I've mentioned it. He shouldn't play 24, 25 minutes in his first season. But he's very, very good on the power play. So why doesn't he become the guy on the main unit? Okay, I understand at the beginning of the season, Madison had been there before. You don't remove him from PP1. But now it's been 11 games?
Mm-hmm.
I think Hudson has proven that he's, more things happen when he's on the power play. So why not switch, the minutes? 7 minutes for Hudson, 3 minutes for Madison. I think it's time. And you know what? It's very justifiable because when the team is losing, I mean, it's not like you're saying, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No, it is broke.
You want to know what Marty St. Louis said after the game?
Mm-hmm.
Our start showed we were patient and disciplined in that risk-reward department. We're in a good spot going into the third, and you just throw up all over yourself. It's not wrong what he said. He's right. They were disciplined in the first period, and they were sticking with their men, and they were playing good defensive hockey. And then as the game wore on, it was mistake after mistake, indiscipline, mistake, indiscipline, mistake, maybe not go all out, not give 100%, fall apart, all of that stuff. But once again, I don't expect Marty to go to the press conference and say it's his fault. And I don't want to assume, and I don't want to say that it is all his fault. But I want to ask a couple of questions tonight that haven't been asked yet by members of the media. They haven't been asked yet by sports radio hosts. They haven't been asked by anybody. We're going to ask them here for the very first time. Okay? Who is getting better on this team that was here last year? Cole Caulfield? Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to put Suzuki in that department because he's got more than a point per game?
No.
You don't?
No. I would say that Suzuki is what Suzuki was last year.
Okay, so Suzuki is the same for you, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Suzuki that finished the season and the Suzuki that's played 11 games this season that has 13 points.
Yeah, pretty much.
You think is the same?
Yeah.
Okay, I think the Suzuki might be a little bit better, but okay, the same or better, no problem.
Yeah.
Is Slafkovsky 11 games in better than he was the player that finished last season?
No.
Is Mike Matheson better?
This is not good, actually, because Slafkovsky should be, on the uphill.
Is Mike Matheson better?
No.
Is Kirby Dach better than he was the year before he got hurt?
I would say no.
Is Armia better than the player that finished last year?
Oh.
Is Savard better than the player that finished last year?
Nope.
Is Dvorak better? No. Is Struble better? No. Is Jack Guy better? No. Is Newhook better? No.
No.
Is Pizzetta better? No, he's not in the lineup. Is Primo better? No. Is Montembeault better? No. So who's better? Let's go through the list. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Jake Evans. Yes.
Yeah.
Brendan Gallagher.
Yeah.
Yes. Believe it or not, Josh Anderson's better than the player that finished the season last year.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easy to be
It's
better.
not hard.
Yeah.
Cole Caulfield. And in the small sample because of the injuries, Caden Gooley. Hutson was in here last year.
Yeah.
So maximum 5 players are better than they were a year ago. Maybe 4. So now, when they play their games, when you saw them tonight, how many players do you think tonight had a good game?
It's hard to tell, but I don't know.
Okay.
5 or 6, maybe.
Perfect. 5 or 6.
Yeah.
How many players of the Canadiens do you think the game before that had a good game?
1 or 2.
So do the exercise every game. And now I got to ask you, if the Canadiens are a classroom and there's 20 students and they study during the week and a couple of nights per week, they take the exam. And more often than not, 3/4 of them fail the exam. Are they all bad students? I don't know. Listen, I'm trying to get down to the bottom.
I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going. But also in any sport, on any team, there's obviously going to be ups and downs from one season to the other with players. Not every player is going to progress, in a linear way. And some guys will have a career year that they won't repeat for whatever reason. So I don't know if the coach is to blame for all this. I really don't know.
I didn't say he's to blame for all of this. Ultimately, he's responsible. And all those guys that aren't playing well, Kent Hughes is not going to be able to trade 10 players.
I agree. But I'm going back to what I was telling you, Tony. Let's take an example, okay? Alex Newhook. Alex Newhook is not a top 6 player.
No, he's not.
He's a third liner.
Correct.
If you put him on a top 6, obviously he's not going to look as good. Oliver Kapanen, they gave him a lot of ice time, maybe a couple of games ago. Now tonight, I think he only played 10 minutes. But, this is not a guy who should be a 2C or even on the second line. He's a fourth liner for now.
Correct.
So it's just a couple of examples that I'm giving you.
But that's where Kapanen was tonight, though.
Pardon me?
That's where Kapanen was.
Yeah, but he was a 2C when there were injuries and everything, and he didn't look good. So it's just examples that I'm giving you that if you look at the Habs players and you try and place them on a contending team, not many players are would have the same role on a contending team than on a weaker team.
Perfect. But Snake, the easiest thing that a coach can do is teach a team how to play defensive hockey.
True.
The hardest thing you can do is teach your team how to score goals, especially if you lack talent and you lack depth. When you lack talent and you lack depth, you have to put in a system that suffocates the opposition, that doesn't make them breathe, that is tight.
I agree.
Like, they are open, like...
Yeah, I know what you mean. They're playing like the Edmonton Oilers of the 80s, basically, without the talent.
Well, listen, it's fun. It's fun to watch a Canadiens game because you know that you're going to see 8 or 9 goals in a hockey game. It's not going to come from them, but you know you're going to see 8 or 9 goals in a hockey game. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's scoring goals. But this is, listen to me. Marty is starting to feel the heat. The honeymoon is over. It's over. He's starting to feel the heat. And the more stubborn that they're all going to be all around by not putting an experienced defensive tactician next to him, he's going to get exposed. He's going to get exposed.
Don't you think that when he has meetings with Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes, that they haven't discussed this?
Well, don't you think that when Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes have a meeting and Marty's not there, that they have some pretty serious discussions too? Not that Marty's in trouble. No, and I don't want Marty to be in trouble. I want Marty to stay here for the longest time. I want the Canadiens to win the Stanley Cup in the next 5 or 6 years, and I want Marty St. Louis to lift that Stanley Cup at Bell Center Ice, okay? Let's get that straight.
Well, we don't dislike him. No.
But you know what? You don't think that Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes, they don't have conversations where they're probably saying, this team could play a heck of a lot better than this. Ultimately, who do you think that comes down to? And what do you think they're going to do? They're going to look at themselves, that they're the ones that put those players there? You think they're going to blame themselves?
No, but look, as I've said many times, Tony, it's not like Kent Hughes has made any effort to improve this team. You know, it's not like he didn't do like Steve Yzerman did in Detroit and try and sign all these older free agents to long-term contracts just to climb a few spots in the standings. Okay, I think they're doing it the right way. And
hold on a second. Susudio says Tony veut amener son ami Guy Boucher. Mon ami. J'ai pas parlé avec depuis 5 ans. J'ai même pas son numéro dans mon téléphone. Hey, some people say some really stupid things sometimes. Tab slack, man. Hey, if you're going to insinuate something or say it, can you please state something as fact? Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me see something. All right. So I put Guy space B and nothing comes up. All right. Hold on a second. All right. Guy in my cell phone. Okay. Guy in my cell phone. Here we go. No, this is important that we get to it. Let me see. Guy Carbonneau, LPG, Guy Lapointe, Guy Pierre, and Guy Lafleur. I still have Guy Lafleur's phone number in my phone. Look at that. I still have Guy Lafleur's phone number in my phone. There's no Guy Boucher here, okay? All right, so there we go. Had to get that out of the way. So now people are going to start that I'm trying to get Marty St. Louis fired to put my chum, Guy Boucher, who I haven't talked to in like the last 5 years, and I don't even have his phone number. But people say such stupid things. I'm going to lose my mind. Listen to me. We got to do a poll question. Let's do a poll question right now, all right? Bring up the poll question.
Energy poll of the day.
It's the Energy Poll of the Day, presented by and brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. All right, okay. The losses, 6 of their last 8, and all these goals against. If it's someone's fault, is it Marty St. Louis' system? Is it the defenseman, or is it the goaltending? I'm going to give you 3 options. Marty St. Louis system, the D, or the goaltending. That's the Energy Poll of the Day.
You don't have all of the above?
That would make it too easy. You understand? Because you know what's going to happen? Everyone's going to choose all of the above. So I want to know if there's one more than the other, which one is it? The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Playground. Looking for the ultimate entertainment experience? Playground has it all. Gaming, poker, fine dining, live music, DJs, all with unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? Just minutes from downtown Montreal, across the Mercier Bridge. Playground, your top destination for fun. And also brought to you by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer. Perfect for the cool fall days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12. In grocery stores all around the province of Quebec, it's ultra light and ultra refreshing. Snake, let's bring up the Canadiens lineup. All right. Suzuki with Heineman on his right, Caulfield on his left. Doc with Slafkovsky on his right and Newhook on his left. Evans with Anderson on his right and Gallagher on his left. And by the way, we have to talk about Josh Anderson because he did something tonight that he hasn't done in a long time. He stood up for a teammate. He saw Tom Wilson hit Caden Gooley. He didn't like it. without a second's hesitation, he went there, he dropped the gloves, and you know what? He looked good. And you know what? I think he won the fight for what it's worth. And you know what? Josh, you see? You're a very strong man. You have it in you, Josh. You have it in you. We saw it tonight. At one moment, we saw it. We need to see it more often. But I'm not going to harp on him more than that because I'm going to give him credit for doing it. Dvorak with Kapanen on his right and Armia on his left. Matheson, Gooley, Hutson, Savard, Struble, and Barron. Primo in goal. What did you make of Arbor Jacki being out of lineup?
Well, I'm surprised since they were playing a road game and Tom Wilson is, plays for the Caps. So I don't know. I guess they're just trying to rotate, one defenseman in every game. They
are, but the second that Barron was ready to come back and got the green light, only 10 days after a concussion, Jacki was out. Look, I understand. Like I the writing's on the wall. Like I saw this a long time ago. If you take a look at the ice time that Jacki's been getting, with the exception of one game where I think it was versus the Blues where he played great and St. Louis said he was excellent, but there's been a lot of games where he was getting 10.5, 13.5, 14.5 minutes, and he wasn't even used on the penalty kill on some occasions. Tonight, they played on the road where you need to go with men. They played versus a team that's big and heavy, and they had in their lineup Wilson, who luckily Anderson took care of, Duhaime, and McElrath. And Jacki wasn't in the lineup. And you have to, I don't know, it's like the Canadians, they change their mind often, and who knows what's going to happen. But if you're a fan of Arbor Jacki, and you wanted to be a Canadian for a long time, I think you really need to be worried that with all those big boys on the other side in a big team and a heavy team, that he didn't play tonight.
Well, I wouldn't buy his jersey if I were a fan of his.
You think they're going to trade him one day? Well, everybody gets traded, but
yeah.
You think in the next 2 years he's still a Hab?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
You know that if this guy ends up in Philadelphia or Boston or whatever, he's going to be a rock star. They're going to love him.
Yeah, probably. It's just a feeling I have. I mean, I have no inside information, but it's just a feeling I have that he's not going to be there for with the next couple of years. He's going to be gone. Just a feeling.
Let's bring back up those individual stats again so we can dissect. All right, okay. Let's take a look at some numbers that are interesting. Josh Anderson was -3 tonight, so there was a lot of frustration, obviously, when he did what he did. He only had 1 minute and 49 seconds, by the way. He's one of the least used players in the entire game. Mike Matheson, again, played 14 seconds shy of 28 minutes. Hutson played 19 minutes. David Savard played 20:46, and Caden Gooley played 21:31. So Lane Hutson was the fourth most used Montreal Canadiens defenseman in this game. Justin Barron had only 10:52. Only 10:52 for Justin Barron. And Struble had 10:31. So Jacki doesn't play in this game. And Struble plays 10:31 and 10:52. That means that given the context, he thinks that Struble at 10:31 and Barron at 10:52 bring him more than Jacki would.
Yeah.
David Savard and Mike Matheson blocked 5 shots apiece. Thank God. Thank God. Suzuki was 63% in the circle. Newhook was 40% in the circle. Josh Anderson actually took 3 faceoffs and won all of them. Dvorak was 63% in the circle. Evans was 44% in the circle. And Kirby Dach only took 2 faceoffs and won both of them. And Oliver Kapanen actually won 5 of 6 faceoffs for 83%. Hits in tonight's game. Matheson didn't have a hit. Caulfield didn't have a hit. Newhook didn't have a hit. Dvorak didn't have a hit. Savard didn't have a hit. Evans didn't have a hit. Doc didn't have a hit, and Kapanen didn't have a hit. Now, you ready for this? Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Christian Dvorak, for at least the second game in a row. I don't know if it was actually 3 games. I have to check. He didn't have a hit or a shot. He didn't have a hit or a shot. Like, geez, I never played in the NHL, but if I would, I think on my first shift, I'd like to get one of the two, and on my second shift, I'd like to get the other. So I get it out of the way. I think I would shoot from the red line to get a shot. Like, is this a joke or what? Were you surprised that they went with Primo tonight?
No.
Thought we lost you for a second there. No, we're good.
No, I wasn't surprised because I think Montembeault hasn't been very good recently, and I know Primo hasn't been much better. But I think they're just trying to give him another chance. And they asked Martin Saint-Louis today, and I think he said, "Well, it's about performance." So I would assume that Montembeault hasn't been great, so they just go with Primo, and who knows? I mean, they're stuck with a lot of players, whose contracts are. I wouldn't call them untradeable because no one's untradeable, but let's say for now they're stuck with them. But I think it's part of the plan. And that's what I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. A rebuild cannot be accelerated in order to gain a few spots in the standings. You have to build brick by brick with young players, identify your core, and once your core is ready to win, then you supplement them. And by the time the core is ready to win, a lot of these contracts will have expired. We're talking Gallagher, we're talking Dvorak, Josh Henderson. All of these contracts will be expired. And you look at the roster tonight, and honestly, how many players from the roster tonight will still be on the Habs if in 5 years they reach the Final Four or the Stanley Cup Finals? So I don't think
in 5 years, you want me to answer that question? I'll try.
Yeah, okay. Why not? Yeah, just for fun.
All right, okay. So I'm going to go with Suzuki.
Yeah.
Caulfield.
Yeah.
That's 2. Slafkovsky. That's 3.
Mm.
Lane Hutson. That's 4.
Mm.
Caden Gooley.
Okay.
That's 5.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the lineup tonight. He's in Laval, but Mayu will be another one.
Don't agree.
That's fine. Agree. That's okay. Who can I say for certain?
There you go.
Geez, I could say Oliver Kapanen. I think that he's got a shot.
Yeah.
Still young, right? Still
maybe as a fourth liner. Yeah.
He's 21 years old. You tell me 5 years from now he's going to be 26. I think there's a good shot.
There's a chance. Yeah.
Primo, I don't think so.
No.
Montembeault's got a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
He might end up backing up Jacob Fowler in 5 years.
Possible.
Possible.
Yeah.
I left out Kirby Doc. And I think he's a 50-50.
Yeah.
Maybe a 60-40. I didn't include Newhook either. Demidov will be.
Yeah, he's not on the roster tonight.
No, he's not on the roster tonight. Michael Hage is not on the roster, but he will be.
Yeah.
Reinbacher is not on the roster tonight, but he will be.
Yeah.
I talked about Fowler's not on the roster, but he will be. But
yeah,
you're right. Out of this team, there's
6 or 7, maybe.
Maybe an Alex Newhook might end up being a depth player, and they end up putting him. Yeah. But if you put a Newhook on a fourth line, that's
one thing I can guarantee you is that there's not a lot of players on tonight's roster who will be in 5 years part of the Canadiens and occupying the same spot on the roster, on the depth chart. Not many of them.
We're
But
gonna.
knowing that, why go nuts about the loss against Seattle, the loss against Washington? Look, it's not a good team. They're going to have a good games like they had this weekend against the Blues and the Flyers. They're going to have some bad games against better teams. And all people need to do right now, look, the Anaheim Ducks, they've been missing the playoffs for 6 years now. They had 6 top 10 picks. Okay, they're getting better, but they're not there yet. So why would it be faster for the Habs?
On a bright note, I mean, Cole Caulfield scored his 10th goal of the season in 11 games on the power play. Brendan Gallagher scored his 4th in 11 games. By the way, it was a blast by Hutson that was deflected by Gallagher. Caulfield's goal, he got a pass from Suzuki. He came down the right side with a little bit of pace and a little bit of speed and fired a quick wrist shot that just got under or in between Lindgren's pad blocker, whatever it was. But, not too many bright spots for the Canadiens, with the exception of, once again, Lane Hutson had a couple assists in tonight's game. There weren't, and Josh Anderson stuck up for Caden Gooley and fought Tom Wilson. But, man.
I spent 10 years criticizing Marc Bergevin because I felt he did not have a plan. These guys right now, they have a plan. Will it work? I don't know. Could they become the Buffalo Sabres? Who knows? It's not impossible. But you know what? I'd rather they try this and risk becoming the Buffalo Sabres, but also have a chance to become the Tampa Bay Lightning than just doing some kind of patch job every summer, just signing players just so you can be in the mix, perhaps get into the playoffs. And if you get lucky, if the goaltender, plays like Halak in 2010, then you reach the Final Four. I'd rather go through what they do now, but it's going to take years. I remember Armstrong, the GM in Arizona. I think rebuilds take at least 7 years. 7 years, before you become a decent team. But there has to be progress.
Yes. Well, that's what we're getting at, right? So you're saying that rebuilds can take 7 years, and I say fine, but I say it has to take progress. And I think the questions I asked at the beginning of the podcast tonight were very serious questions. I think they were good ones, right? And the questions, once again, were which players who finished the year here last year, 11 games into this season, have improved? And I don't think there's a lot of them. And the second question I said, or one of the second statements I made, was, if your practices during the week are your study period and your games are the exam, go through all the games. And when more often than not, 3/4 of the players are failing the exam. Is it because they have bad students?
Have you thought?
Or it's the bad message?
No, but have you thought that perhaps some of these players, our expectations are too high?
Yeah, Denny Gauthier told me earlier today that if this was university, the Canadiens have some college students on the team that aren't ready for university.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
If this was university, do they have a university coach or a college coach? If the coach is a professor, is he a university professor?
I don't know until they have a better roster.
But when you have a bad roster, you're supposed to play tight defensive hockey.
I agree with you. It depends on the plan. Maybe the plan is just to...
The plan is to give up 1,000 goals in a season?
I don't know.
Because, the league worst were the 1974-75 Washington Capitals, who gave up 446 goals in a season.
I remember.
If the Canadiens want to be that team, they keep on giving up 6, 7, or 8. You're on your way.
Look, I agree with you. It doesn't make sense. I don't disagree. It would be much better if they lost 3-2 than 6-3. I do agree. But what I'm saying is that, don't you think that it hasn't been discussed? The system?
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to start playing some kind of Jacques Lemaire type of style, or the 1-3-1 or whatever you call it. So I don't know. I don't have the answer. I don't know what they're saying behind closed doors. But it's been 3 years now, and the system has always been like, run and gun. No?
Well, yeah, so far since Marty St. Louis has been here, it's been a run and gun system. Yes.
Yeah.
It has.
Yeah.
But you know what? You have two teams that play a hybrid D system.
Mm-hmm.
The Canadiens and their American Hockey League affiliate, the Laval Rocket.
Yeah.
And the Laval Rocket played a lot better than the Canadiens.
I agree with you.
A different league. I understand that, different players, but they played a lot better.
But I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. The Canadiens. Listen. I'm not alluding to anything other than, I need you to think about this for a second, okay?
Okay.
I want you to think about what I'm going to tell you. It's very important, okay? I want you to look at Pascal Vincent's career, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to look at his career as a coach. He coached in the Q for, I think, 11 years, right? With Cape Breton and Montreal Juniors.
Montreal Juniors, yeah.
I think he coached for like 11 years in the Q, okay? Mm-hmm. And then for the next 5 years, he was an assistant coach with the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the next 5 years, he was a head coach with the Manitoba Moose.
Yeah.
And then for the next couple of years, he was an assistant coach with the Columbus Blue Jackets again. And then last year, he was the head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And this year, he's the head coach of the American Hockey League affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens, the Laval Rocket. Okay? So I need you to go down the list and take a look at Trevor Lutowski, take a look at Marty St. Louis, take a look at Stéphane Robida, take a look at the Canadiens coaching staff. The guy that's in the American Hockey League has more experience than all the guys that are up with the big team.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense whatsoever? By the way, I'm making some points here tonight that you haven't heard anywhere else, eh? I've been thinking about this all day. They've been going through my mind all day.
This is a good point. This is a valid point. But I'm not the one to evaluate coaches because, like I always say, I'm not in the dressing room. So there are reasons why he was let go in Columbus. Obviously, there was new management.
Yeah,
there was probably a reason why he was let go.
Yeah, probably. But you know what? The new manager comes in, he usually brings in his own guy, right?
Yeah.
If Kent Hughes,
but it was a rock and roll year for him last year.
If Kent Hughes is replaced tomorrow, for example, Marty St. Louis will last max another year, and then he'll be gone, and they'll bring in somebody else.
Yeah, just like
that's just the way it works.
Ducharme, I do agree. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know, Tony. I've been a rebuild junkie in every sport for years and years and years. Basically, this is the reason why I follow sports. It's for rebuilds. Believe it or not. And when a team becomes better and a contending team, I sort of like let them go and I go to the next rebuilds.
Yeah.
You see my point? I'm a rebuild junkie. So when it comes to the Canadiens rebuild, I see it from the eye of someone who's been following dozens of rebuilds in every sport. And it kind of, I find it, I don't know.
You know who did the best one?
Pardon me?
You know who did the good rebuilds?
Yeah.
The Penguins?
Yeah.
And the Blackhawks?
Yeah. And basically, it needs a little bit of luck, with the lottery balls and everything that, I'm very aware that if they don't get Sidney Crosby, it's a different team. But my point is that not that it makes me smile, because that's not the right word, but I find it like kind of interesting that a lot of people in the media right now and some fans are going nuts about what's happening with the Habs. Whereas basically it's just a normal, it's just part of the process. It's just normal.
It's not normal.
It's
not normal to lose 8-2 to Seattle. Who the hell is Seattle?
Look, they started to rebuild 3 years ago. It's year 3, really, since Kent Hughes has been here.
Seattle was an expansion team 3 years ago.
Yeah, they were an expansion team, but you know what? They were able to the rules are different. I mean, we're not talking about the Washington Capitals of 1974. I mean, they still had rules that allowed them to build a decent team. Well, decent, at least average team.
Yeah, the rules are that you get to pick up players that other teams don't want.
Yeah, but you also have a clean salary cap sheet.
Yes, you're right.
Which you can weaponize,
Yes,
you're right. And I'm not saying that Ron Francis did a great job, okay? For whatever reason, did not do a good job because the Kraken is not doing great, okay? They missed the playoffs last year. They're a 500 team right now. So it's just that I just find it normal because the Canadiens brought the same roster as last year.
They lost 4-1 in Toronto tonight, by the way.
Pardon me?
They lost 4-1 in Toronto.
Yeah, 4-1. Yeah.
The Penguins, who the Canadiens visit on Saturday night, beat Anaheim 2-1 in overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that it's the same roster as last year. So why would they be better?
Why would they be better?
And it's by design.
It's very. You asked me a question. I'm going to give you a very easy answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the core is 1 year older. Suzuki is 1 year older. Caulfield is 1 year over. Slafkovsky is 1 year older. Gouli is 1 year older.
Yeah.
This Montembeault and Primo are 1 year older. Martin St. Louis has 1 year more experience. This is why they should be better.
Yeah, but we go back to what I've been telling you for 2 years. Do you think, and I know your response, but and I know they have no depth right now, but do you think that with Suzuki and Caulfield as your two best forwards that you can win the Stanley Cup? I know you're going to say yes. Me, I say no.
If Suzuki and Caulfield are insulated with the Demidovs and the Hages, and the Ghoulies and the Hutsons and the Fowlers and the Reinbackers and whatever, and you add to that, yes, they can.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be the top two forwards, Tony.
If Cole Caulfield scores 45 goals this year or 50, he's got 10 in 11 games.
Yeah.
If Nick Suzuki picks up 85, 90 points this year, he's got more than a point per game this year. You don't think that in 4, 5, 6 years from now, if they end up being a Stanley Cup team, that they can't be on the first line? They're in their fourth and fifth season. One guy's he's on pace to score 50.
Yeah.
And the other guy's on pace to pick up 90 points. What do you mean? Okay. They're nowhere near their prime.
Okay, so why aren't the Habs better then?
Because two players can't make the team win.
I agree with you. But what I'm saying is the players that will complement Suzuki and Caulfield. I'm not talking about defensemen. I'm just talking about forwards. Why wouldn't they be better than Suzuki and Caulfield? Why are so many people stuck with the idea that Suzuki and Caulfield have to be the top two forwards on a
I'm not saying they have to be the top two forwards.
No, but some people,
if they're not, if they're not, the Canadiens are obviously going to be in a much better position. But let's just say that this year Suzuki finishes with 85 points and Caulfield finishes with 45 goals. Is it realistic? It's hard, but is it realistic right now to throw out numbers like that? That Suzuki could finish with 85 points. He has 13 points in 11 games. Okay. Yeah. And Caulfield can finish with 45 goals. He's got 10 goals in 11 games.
Yeah, it's realistic.
Okay,
you know what? I'll go back to my example.
So Suzuki's 25 years old.
Yeah.
And Caulfield's 23 years old.
Okay, I'll go back to my example. Okay, and again, you're gonna hate me for this.
I don't hate you.
No, but listen to me.
Yeah.
If Michael Granlund gets 85 points for the Sharks this year and they finish in last place, are you going to tell me that when the Sharks are going to be better, that Michael Granlund should be their top forward?
No, I'm not going to tell you that. No.
It's just the point that some players, they will produce a lot on weaker teams for whatever reason. You know, they get a lot of ice time.
That's true, but can I add something to what you just said?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. Michael Granlund's been in the NHL for like 12 years.
Yeah.
He never hit the 70-point plateau. So when you tell me he's going to score 85 points for San Jose this year, when he's going to turn 33 years old in a couple of months,
he's just on pace.
He's on pace, but I don't believe he will.
I don't think he will. He'll get injured or something. You know, he's not. Look, my point was that on weaker teams, and it's the same thing with baseball. A last place team, any guy who bats fourth will get 90 RBIs. But it doesn't mean that the guy would bat fourth on the Los Angeles Dodgers or the New York Yankees. So that's my point with the Habs. And I don't understand why so many people get mad at me when I say that Suzuki and Caulfield must not be your top two forwards when you win the cup. So many people want it's almost as they don't want Demidov to be better than them. Okay, I'm exaggerating, but you get my point.
Listen, I understand your point. And you know what? I think a lot of people are going to agree with you. And I think some people are probably going to disagree with you. I think it takes like the folks, for everyone watching and listening right now, I don't know if there's a right answer to what we just discussed, right? He's got his opinion. I got mine. Only time will tell. Yeah. But I'll tell you this. When the Boston Bruins, folks, won the Stanley Cup in 2011, their leading goal scorer was Milan Lucic. He scored 30. And their leading point getter was Milan Lucic at 62 points. Now, why did they win the cup? I'm going to tell you why they won the cup. They won the cup because their wingers with Lucic were Nathan Horton, who was inferior, Mark Recchi, who was inferior to Lucic as well, Brad Marchand, at that stage of his career, was inferior to Lucic as well, Michael Ryder, at that stage of his career, was inferior to Lucic as well, and Tyler Seguin, right? But
he was a rookie.
At center,
he was an 18-year-old rookie.
Yes, at center, they had David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron, and they had Gregory Campbell, and I think it was Rich Peverly. Those were their four centermen. Yeah. Their goalie was Tim Thomas. They had Chara and Seidenberg on defense, and they had Claude Julien and Doug Jarvis as his assistant coach. The Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup because they were a team. They were a team. They were insulated. If Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield would have played on that team, probably would have been the best point getter, and they probably would be the best goal scorer. But with all those guys, you know, Caulfield and Suzuki, they don't have Tim Thomas in goal, unfortunately. And they don't have Chara on defense. And Suzuki doesn't have a Patrice Bergeron to be the second-line centerman behind them the way Krejci did. And the guy that they're hoping that Josh Anderson would have been is Milan Lucic. That's a difference. And Marty St. Louis doesn't have the experience of a Claude Julien.
I see that. I see that the 2011 Boston Bruins, the 2019 St. Louis Blues, they always come back, you know, in the conversation when we talk about stars on the team, rebuilds and everything.
Correct.
It does happen. Well, like every 10 years, one team.
You know what this is. You'll raise. You'll look at things to support your point, and I'll look at things to support mine.
But what we're saying is that these things are not sustainable The St. Louis Blues.
Well, they're not
they're
sustainable. The
close.
Boston Bruins, they went on a run for about 12 years where they were a very competitive team. This year, they forget about it. I think they've given up on their coach, unfortunately, for Jim. But I think when Jim said what he said to Brad Marchand said it's okay. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he lost his locker room. But the Boston Bruins had a really good run.
Yeah, with David Pastrnak, scoring tons of goals also.
Yeah, of course, that helps.
So, look, my point is you need 10 impact players around the same age group.
Yeah.
Before the Canadiens get there, they need to draft and develop more talent. But one thing that I'm a little bit concerned about, and it's just 11 games into the season, just one thing, and I don't have like snap judgments, on players in October, especially in October, because the game changes as the months go on.
I bet you're going to bring up Slav. Go ahead.
Yes. The guy was a number one overall pick. Expectations are very high with number one overall pick. They're not all McDavids. They're not all Crosbys, but expectations are very high.
I don't think it was a great draft year.
Look, some players will come out of that draft, and I'm not blaming the Habs for picking him. That's not my point. But as a number one pick, it's his third season. I thought this was the year where he would take his game to another level and become better than Suzuki and Caulfield. But it's only 11 games into the season.
Yes,
so I'm going to wait until April before we discuss this in more. But for now, what's your answer?
I don't know. I don't know if he's ever going to be a better player than Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki is a guy that, going back to junior hockey, used to have seasons of 95 and 96 and 100 points and Memorial Cups and pick up MVPs. I mean, Nick Suzuki is a great point producer. I don't think Slafkovsky is going to end up being that kind of player. I think he'll end up being
a better player.
I think he'll end up being a poor man's Rantanen.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope he ends up being better than Rantanen. But Mikko Rantanen is he's a heck of a hockey player.
Yeah. He's lazy at times, but he gets his points. Yeah.
All right. Okay. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Souvlaki Authentique. I got to bring the Snake there one day because Snake, it's family operated. And every time we go there, the franchise owners, Terry and Costa, are just absolutely unbelievable. Greek restaurant, 7 locations they own they franchise out. But they're the founders. Lachine, Boisbriand, Pierrefonds. They use fresh Quebec chicken, fresh Quebec pork, both hand-cut, marinated in-house. Their gyro is hand-stacked in-house, never frozen, no MSG in any of the recipes. Greek potatoes. Now your Yaya's Greek potatoes, by the way. They have a unique lemon sauce, absolutely fantastic. Also, a shout-out to one of our partners who is Betway, a leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. Go on Betway.com or scan the QR code to join the action. Must be 18 years old and over and play responsibly. And if you would have put the over on the Montreal Canadiens games with Betway this year, you would have made a lot of money. This is what I'm going to do to end it off, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask Shane Gaumont. I'm master control. Shane, can you get how many questions can we take, Snake? Is 5 questions good with you? 6, 5, 6? All right.
I'm good.
6 questions for the Snake. 6. Snake, I'm going to break away for a second, and I'm going to make you handle the questions, okay?
Yeah.
Shane, you let me know when you can start bringing them up. All right. So Shane's gathering the questions. Once he brings them up, I'm going to break away, and you're going to handle a couple of them, and then I'll be back. Don't ask me why. I'll tell you, I had to have too much water tonight, and I'm still having more. This is unbelievable, by the way. This is unbelievable. You want to know what Shane just wrote?
Yeah.
Shane just wrote to me in the private chat. You know what he said?
What?
No questions right now. People just bitching. That's what he wrote. That's what he wrote. Tony G has a question, I think. Slimesy has a question. Adam Lancaster has a question. John Waters has a question. These are all questions on YouTube. Giovanni Maiolo has a question. Giovanni Maiolo says they are playing with complacency. They're playing with complacency. You want to comment on that?
What's the question?
He says they're playing with complacency. What do you think? Are they playing with complacency?
Look, I think when a team lacks talent, they have to give a gigantic effort every night to win the game, or even be part of the keep it close.
Yeah,
and I think it's kind of impossible for 82 games, and that's why the best teams, they can win on nights where they don't bring their A game. A team like the Habs, if they don't bring their A game, they're not going to win. So that's my answer.
Giovanni Maiolo, by the way, has a restaurant on 1800 Sherbrooke Street West. It's called Gesso, Geso restaurant. And it's one of my favorite restaurants in the city. And that's it. So we gave it a shout out. And hopefully that's going to get me about 200 eggplant fritters at around Christmas time. Thank you, Giovanni. I love you. Other questions? All right. You can read the question and you'll answer it and I'll be back. Is that good?
Yeah.
Go. Are you reading it out loud?
Yeah. What is Roger Grillo helping Martin Saint-Louis at all? I don't know about this one, Tony. I don't know if Roger Grillo is helping Martin Saint-Louis.
Well, if he's helping him with the special teams, then he's helping. If he's helping them with the defensive zone coverage, then he's not helping.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Other questions? Matt, I think Matt just gave us $5, as a matter of fact. Isn't that amazing? 5 years I've been doing the podcast, and he already gave me as much as Agnello gives me per hour with one post. Amazing. St. Louis is receiving the same consequences that DJ Smith has with Ottawa. The team no longer seems to be progressing in the right direction. Not really a question, but more of a comment. Let's try and get some questions, please. You know what they did with DJ Smith, though, eh? They put an experienced coach next to him to take a look at everything, which was Jacques Martin, and then report back to the GM. And then he said, what do you think? And he said, this guy is a coach. He doesn't have it. Do you think the Habs should send Dvorak to Laval? Snake? He does nothing but win faceoffs.
No, because who are they going to replace him with? I mean,
but then again, they have to trade him, by the trade deadline.
Yeah. Look, I don't think it really matters. I wouldn't do it.
All right. 2 more. Why don't we do that? John Waters, who in the Canadian system today has superstar potential? Demidov.
That's it.
Next. Last one. Michelangelo. What would be the best electroshock according to you, Tonino? To me, it would be to get a guy like a Dvorak and, just send him to Laval, bring up a Luke Tuck.
To me, it's let it sink and get a high draft pick.
Let it sink and get a high draft pick, eh?
Oh, yeah.
I've said that for the longest time, and I was going to continue to say that, but then they started telling me that they want to be in the mix. Everybody's confusing me now. Want to be in the
mix. They're just trying to make fans hopeful and sell tickets.
Snake,
unless they really believed it.
Snake, we went longer than usual, and I think it was a great show tonight. And everyone appreciates having you on because they've been asking about you, and that's why we brought you on.
Well, I'm glad, Tony. Anytime.
Okay, 11:08 on a Thursday night PM. What are you going to do now?
Well, my girlfriend's in the bathtub right now, waiting for me.
How long has she been there for?
I don't know, maybe half an hour.
Your girlfriend's been in the bathtub for the last half an hour. She's waiting for you.
Yeah.
And you stayed on with me so we can answer questions about Roger Grillo.
Of course. I love you.
I'm going to end this podcast with one of my famous sayings.
Yes.
Is this a joke?
No.
No, it is. Good night, Snake.
I don't.
Have a good time.
Bye.
The snake in the bathtub. She's in the bathtub. Sounds like she's going to see the snake. The Sick Podcast. I don't know what to tell you. Canadians lose again. At least you can come here to laugh or cry or both. Paul Montreal, can I give them a shout out, please? This way I can get some facial services because this isn't all natural, right? Dr. Manish Khan and his team, they use the latest cosmetic technologies for laser services, injections, fillers, body contouring, facial treatments. Check out Paul Montreal, P-E-A-U on Instagram or www.paulmontreal.com. Jot down this number. You can give them a call tomorrow, 514-989-7328. Where did that number come from? Let me do it again. 514-989-7328. 2 locations, downtown Montreal and the West Island. Dr. Manish Khan and his team use the latest cosmetic technologies. There you have it. What a crazy night. His girlfriend's waiting for him in the bathtub for the last 30 minutes, and he's answering questions about Roger Grillo. I tell you this, I don't know the snake all that well, but if my wife was waiting for me in the bathtub, I wasn't going to stick around for 35, 40 more minutes to answer questions about Roger Grillo. Believe me when I tell you that. And that, my friends, is not a joke. For Shane Gamo, Master Control. Canadians lose again. Don't worry about it. They didn't give up 1,000 goals tonight. They only gave up 6-3 to the Washington Capitals. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.